Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to all the people. And This live has been pending for quite some time, and it was in my heart and mind to bring certain things about Clifton Strength Finder. And why I wanted to make this live of Clifton Strength Finder so that people who are not aware about what Clifton Strength Finders is and what is it beyond strengths and weakness to be made aware of, and they should be aware that how important it is to know about your own talents, to know about your own strengths, and to know about their weakness. And along with these talents, strengths, and weakness, you understand the essence and value of the emotions. So every talent is associated with emotion as per Clifton Strength Finder. And Clifton Strength Finder is quite a proven tool, which is very, very prominent in many countries and even in India as well. And being a certified coach in India, it becomes my moral kind of responsibility and duty to just spread the awareness of this empowering tool. And that's the reason why I made this topic as empowering your uniqueness, because every one of us is unique because of the innate talents. Every one of us is has got their talents and weakness and strengths. So we need not to follow what others are doing. We need not to compare ourselves that how others have achieved their life, or they have been successful. Once we have that kind of understanding about our own selves, we start excelling in our life, and we begin the journey of self awareness. And that's what that empowering your uniqueness begins. Now this empower your uniqueness is just not for a housewife, or it's just not for a student, or it's just not for a working professional. I have been coaching leaders, global leaders, and even they are not in the beginning of the sessions, they are not aware about their core values, they are not aware about their strengths and weakness. So even if they have reached to the level of leadership, but they were having that kind of vacuum in themselves, and they were not living a happier life. So that's the reason when I say empower your uniqueness, it begins from class 10th or 11th class student to adolescent to teenage to adult, uh, to a professional, mid level, junior level, mid level, housewife, every one of them. So yes, with this as a brief introduction about my topic, and about Clifton Strength Finder, I'll just begin with it. And so yes, what Albert Einstein said, I'm really moved by this. That creativity is seeing what others see and thinking about no one else ever though. So when you know what is your uniqueness, you become creative. You have seen child, he or she is always unique. Every child is unique. And when we see these people doing things, building castles of sand, building some kind of playing with some kind of toys and everything, so these people are creative. Now where does this creativity gets vanished when we grow up in our lives? So when we are creative, when we know our uniqueness, when there is no one to put their barriers or their expectations, or their parameters of success on our mind, we continue with our unique talents. And that is where the journey of real success and happiness begins. Please, Sai, please change to the next slide. Thank you. So, yeah, what is creative confidence? So, why we become more creative when we understand our own uniqueness. Being creative is a gift, and we all are creative. Then needs nurturing. It should never be like taken for granted. it is very lucky in we are very lucky to have those innate gifts, and we should be testing how far we can, kind of push it. And so then when we say that, unleash your true potential, how do we do that? So many coaches say unleash your true potential, we do this, we'll do this. So how are we doing that unleashing? How are we unleashing? Not by me as a coach telling you to do this or to do that, by making you aware about your unique talents. By these Clifton Strength Finder, your talents will be different, my talents will be different, your child talent will be different, your marriage's talent will be different. So once we are aware that what are those my uniqueness, and what am I here for, I understand the purpose of my life, I understand how I can be more closer to that purpose of my life. And that's how I become more creative, and that's how I become more confident. And that's where the journey of self discovery begins. Next slide, please. We can omit this slide. Next. Okay, now how do we uh, put this creative confidence into action? So, see, there are three blocks as per the creative confidence, and this is the concept of design thinking. So, I have joined now as a well evolved and a well developed coach after coaching so many global leaders. And when I decided to bring this methodology in India as well, as a design thinking practitioner, I am able to join all the dots as a coach. So this is a design thinking concept where we have to find a sweet spot between three elements. Okay, so what will people pay you to do? What happens when we are out in industry? Okay, you go for an interview, okay, and you are told to do certain things, and you are told to you are asked that what are your strengths and weakness, so that tells you that what are you good at. And then uh, what were you born to do? Okay, now this what were you born to do is a very important, is a very relevant question, which many people are not able to understand. As since I have coached so many people now all around, more than like 700 hours of coaching I have had. So till the time we don't understand that, yeah, I mean, like, what is that something which I'm born to do? I lead a very, you know, I lead a very half life. I don't live a fulfilling life. And that's where it becomes very, very important. Even when you are going for an interview and you are telling about your strengths and weakness, even if someone is not asking you that, what are you born to do? But then you see, pandemic has given this kind of thought that ultimately when there is 33% of attrition, so please think that why this 33% of attrition is existing even when there is so much of unemployment. Why people are still not happy. Attrition, the organizations are looking for talent, but still they're not able to get talent. And even when jobs are there, people are somewhere not happy to join the jobs. So what is that something that is missing in their lives? So that's where this what were you born to do comes into play, and that makes you unique in your life. That makes you unique in your organization, in your family, and every and all other kind of places. So this is a concept of design thinking. And while being a successful manager or a leader or a student, you really have to find your own uniqueness by strengths assessment. You really have to find your emotions. You really have to find your core values. And that is where that sweet spot, which is there in this diagram, will represent that you have to work to earn money, but then ultimately what makes you happy is also very, very important. uh, okay, next slide, please. Okay, can you just enlarge it a bit? Okay, so how to be unique? Now these are certain questions which I ask when there's a one-on-one coaching, and or even when we have a team coaching. So people ask me how to be unique. Okay, how do I identify my uniqueness? How do I apply my uniqueness? Okay, now even when you identify, okay, this makes you unique. Now, how do I apply my uniqueness? So these are the questions which I ask if excuse me, I'm not well, so kindly bear with my throat. Okay, so now how do I apply my uniqueness? How do I stop with comparison? Now, this is something very, very important, which is a parasite in most of the organizations, because when managers tell to one of the team member who's not doing well, and they say that, okay, this person is doing so well and you are not able to do that well, that good, then that comparison begins, and that's where it leads to dysfunctional teams, and that's where it begins to a loss of productivity, and that's where it begins to uh, you know uh, I mean, they're not able to meet their targets. So once you understand your uniqueness, your talents, your emotions, your governing core values, all these things of jealousy, all these things of comparison and small mundane things, you just keep them aside, even if someone tells you, because then you elevate yourself. Okay, you become more aware, you become more aware about yourself, and that's where it begins, your journey of self discovery, your journey of self awareness becomes. So self awareness is, next slide please. Self awareness is a very, very Sahil, next slide please. Okay, thank you. So you see, self awareness is a very, very important, relevant topic, and I've heard and I have seen people complicating it so much. Uh, and that's where I am very fond of Clifton Strength Finder, because self awareness begins by knowing your emotions, by knowing your talents, by knowing your strengths, and by knowing your weakness. Why emotions become important? Because according to Clifton Strength Finder, even anger is not a negative emotion. If it's just that you don't have to be in the baseline of anger. Okay, sometimes being humble in today's world is always not a correct approach. People might take you for granted. Okay, people might take your decency for granted. In organizations, in corporates, where all the kinds of people are there, and I have prepared made one post also on how to deal with the politics in the organization. So we all know that these things exist in the organizations. We all know that politics do exist. So one has to be part of it. It's just that by self awareness, we know where and when to tweak our anger, where and when and how to tweak our humility. So that is the reason he or she who opens a school door closes a prison. So why a school door? Because the journey begins from school. Okay, we join a school, we go to school, and there the journey of our awareness, the journey of our learning, and everything begins. So once that journey begins, we closes a prison. What is a prison? A prison is a place where there's no sunlight, where there is no uh, uh, sunlight, or where there is no knowledge, where there is no awareness, no one is allowed to come there. So he who opens a school door closes a prison. So that is the reason why this awareness, so the awareness journey is very, very important. Know yourself, deep dive into your own self, understand your true talents, understand your core strengths, and there begin your journey of self awareness. Science, next slide please. So yeah, I love this quote. You none of us have to go to Himalayas with a chanting mala and begin the journey of self-awareness. That's a different level altogether. Okay, people are doing that, but that's a very different elevated level, I would say. That's a spiritual intelligence that we have to begin with. But then in an external world, in a material world, where we have to live in the society, where we have to work, we have to meet our desires, we have to meet our happiness as a young child, as a young adolescent, as a young adult. We have to, meet all our ambitions. We have to have that kind of fire in the belly to unleash our true potential, to be successful, and to do what you really want to do. So, to begin your journey of self awareness, none of you have to go to Himalayas uh, to know what you truly are. You know about your talents, you know about your emotions. You begin the journey sitting at your home, sitting in the organization. You begin the journey of your inner self, and you start leading a splendid and a fulfilling life. Okay, next slide, please. Can you just enlarge it, please? So, what is the struggle in knowing about self? So, now this is very important, that what is the struggle in knowing about self is, uh, most of the time when I have taken sessions and when I asked people, students especially, that what are your strengths? So, communication, hard work, okay, and what else? Adaptability. Now communication is such an empowering strength. Okay, and when one girl in one of the college told me that communication is my strength, and after some time I asked her uh, something, and I was not able to hear her. So I said, if communication is your strength, it should be so empowering. It should be so, commanding, that I should not be asking that you're too low. So claiming strengths that don't possess. So you do not know what are your strengths. Okay. And that is the struggle in knowing about self. Okay. So that is what, till the time the correct assessment, till the time the correct, you are not with an expert who can really tell you that what is your strength, and by asking certain question, you are always saying the same things again and again. See, I would not like to have people who are so hardworking. I want my people who are working with me or under me to work for 3 to 4 hours and just give me the results and then just go and enjoy their life. And that's what, when I worked in the organizations also, I never allowed them to, work beyond timings. I mean, after 8 or 9 hours. So that is the reason, when you do not know your own talents, when you do not know your own strengths, you just keep claiming what you do not have. And you have that struggle that, oh, I'm a hard worker, so I'll work for 10 hours or 11 hours. No, that's just not the case at all. Okay, you have to be a smart worker. You have to be, work efficiently and effectively. And you have to start knowing that what are your actual true talents. Then people become defensive and self-protective around weakness and non-talent. This is something very, very important. People become very, defensive, that, okay, this is my weakness, so I have to defend my weakness. See, you have to accept your weakness. You have to understand what is your weakness, and then only you can start working towards that. So once you understand that what are your strengths, then you start understanding that what is your weakness also. So now, if you're claiming that communication is a strength, then what is the weakness? You're not using it. That is a major weakness, that you're not accepting that how to use it. And that's where that vacuum and that a journey of a non-fulfilling or a half, lived life, people generally live. And that's where the struggle in knowing about self is there. So that's where, I as a coach, I as a certified coach of Clifton Strength Finder, tells you how to live a fulfilling life, how to live a splendid and a happy life. And that's where the journey, we I do a hand holding in the journey of self awareness. Okay, next slide, please. Now, this is something very, very important. There are majorly four domains of strengths. This is a model of Gallup, Clifton Strength Finder. There are total 34 talents which have been grouped in four domains: executing, influencing, relationship building, and strategic thinking. So now, what is an executing theme? Okay, a person who is good in executing theme will have talents like, which are mentioned here, like activator, achiever, belief, and there are many more. Communication is an influencing talent. So a person who's good in communication will be naturally influencing. Okay, there's so many influencers sitting, but then you see there would be some people uh, who will be very different in their communication. So they are the influencers. It's just that perhaps they would not be knowing that, what is this influencing theme is all about. Then there would be, then there is a relationship building theme. There would be some people who would be good in relationship building theme. There would be some people who would not be very good in relationship building theme. This we get to know once we do the strengths assessment. And then there's a theme of strategic thinking. So once we understand the talents, we understand that, okay, these are the strategic thinking themes. Now, with this, I want to tell you people that these are the four models that does not tell, or that does not label that a person who does not have theme of strategic thinking is not good, or is a little lower in any or the other way. A person who is not good at executing themes cannot execute only. So when this strength assessment is done, there is a total 34 talents assessment. I, as a much experienced coach, I help you to join these different talents with communication. I try to join a talent of executing, which would be maybe seventh or eighth talent, okay, or maybe 11th or 12th talent. Then I also help in making you understand how to achieve success with your dominant themes. So the top five talents which are there are the dominant themes. The top 10 becomes again a little less dominant, and then 11 to 15 a coach helps you to navigate in your themes. So with your top talents, I help you to navigate in your other talents which are figuring in the 11th to 15th or 11th to 18th talent. So that's where, again, very few coaches are able to do it who are experienced, who have been coaching people one on one, who have been doing team coaching. Because ultimately, if you do the assessment, which is there in Google also, you just Google Clifton Strength Finder assessment, and there'll be this link, and it'll. Okay, so yeah, I was just telling you one major, incident which I faced. In one of the organization, and this there was a sales manager, and this guy was the best worker, and he was awarded best worker continuously for a couple of years. And when I did his strength assessment, his communication and his influencing themes were absolutely, I mean, at the bottom. Okay, so when I say bottom, it's like excuse me. When I say bottom, somewhere in the 18 to 34, and but then his relationship building was so good that uh, his clients never left him. Okay, and his relationship building themes, when I coached him, I empowered them so well that he started making those all the more greater relations with his clients. And in spite of not having communication as one of his major talent, he made sure that he makes genuine and good relationships, good connectedness with his clients. And that's where his journey of excellence and his journey of success begins. So that's the reason why I'm trying to tell this example is only because if someone does not have strategic thinking as a dominant theme, that does not mean that person cannot live a strategic life, okay, or is not able to live a successful career. If a person is not good in executing things, when I say good means not dominant, that does not mean they cannot execute their plans. Now here the experience of an expert or an experience or help of a coach comes into play, where I help them to join various these talents, and we do a like 5 or 6 sessions, and where once my client, once you people becomes more confident, uh, we make them go, and then the journey of their excellence begins. So yeah, let's go to next slide. So why awareness of strengths, and the double question mark? Why is it so important? Self-awareness, and everyone is talking about all these things. But then I specifically will narrow it down, and I'll say that why this awareness of talents and strengths is important, because a person who is well aware of their talent knows where and how to pitch in the competition, in the market, in the organization, where to withdraw, because then with this self-awareness they would also know that where or rather weakness. So they will have that understanding that okay, here if I'm going to pitch it, that going to I will be in the baseline, and my weakness might take over me. So then that with that self-awareness theme, they would also know where to withdraw and where to stay quiet. Okay, when you have that awareness of strengths, you just start living an empowering life. Okay, you just start living a fulfilling life. Okay, and then you just start looking forward for next day. And when you start looking forward for next day, your manager, your teacher, your professor, your in relationships, your couple, your partner, your husband, your wife, your girlfriend, your boyfriend, they also see that kind of change in you, because you cannot change all these people. Okay, it is you who have to know your own self. You don't have to even change yourself. You are what you are. You're a creation of a creator. Just that you have to know what you are with your innate talents, with your innate strengths. Okay, and of course weakness associated with it. So that is the reason why this awareness is more important. You become better in your relationships. Okay, now when this change becomes your relationships with your teachers, with your professors, with your girlfriend, with your boyfriend, with your managers, with your leaders, everything changes. Okay, they become better, because you are now a different person altogether. You become more positive. Okay, then when it comes to the organizations, you're interacting with various kind of stakeholders. You treat your customers better. Okay, otherwise you get disgruntled with your customers and with the stakeholders, and then you always end up saying these people whenever we give them something and they're not happy with it. And then when you have that discovery or rediscovery of your own self, you start treating your customers also in a genuine way. Otherwise you just wear a facade, and you just try to keep pleasing themselves, pleasing them. So then you become more positive, and and the negative interactions with co-workers becomes takes a backseat, and then you become more creative, innovative, and you have more positive movement. So that's why the awareness of strengths is very, very important. And again, as I said, that it is just not for housewives, it is just not for managers, it is just not for leaders, it is for all the people to live that kind of life. And the earlier the better, I mean the sooner the better. Okay, once you have this kind of awareness at an early age of your life, as a young manager, You become more aware. You start learning about your own self, your weakness, and then you become a better leader at a later stage of life. Okay, Sally, next slide, please. So, this is one of my favorite video which has been created by my manager. And again, one more important thing that I always keep my people because I have certain talents and I use those talents, and my manager or my person who is with me will have certain talents. So, when you understand, when I know that what I am good at and what the other person is good at. So, then we become more complementary and we become more effective as a team. So that's whenever I go to organizations to tell the managers or to tell the leaders, I always tell them to have this kind of strength-based culture, to have that kind of strength-based, philosophy, so that the teams become complementary. Okay, because even a leader is not good in everything. Okay, a person who is at a global leadership level is not will not be good at everything. They're all human beings, but then ultimately they have to be made aware that first everyone is not good in everything. Okay, so once that awareness comes, then that kind of mindset shift happens at a leadership level, and then it starts trickling down to managerial level, to functional level, and then the organization start playing a different, role altogether in developing people. Similarly, things happen in colleges also. Similarly, things happen in relationships also, because in relationship also, no one is perfect. And once you know what you are good at, once you know how the other person is there, then the relationship takes a different turn altogether. You become complementing to each other. Okay, and then you help each other to live a splendid, happier, and a successful life. Because then you will know that how we can navigate our life in a more successful way. What the other person would want from you. How can you give that thing to the other person and empowering them? So that is the reason, dear audience, this journey of self-awareness is very, very important. You should begin it, begin this journey as early as possible to live a splendid, fulfilling life, and you will feel a remarkable and a significant difference once you know that what you are good at. And I've seen people transforming, and believe you me, it is very, very empowering. And once you understand that, okay, everyone is unique, and how to empower your uniqueness, it comes only and only when you know that what you are unique, at what is that uniqueness in you, and how to empower uniqueness. So yes, with this, I'll take a pause and I will look forward for your suggestions in our email ID or in my YouTube channel. And yes, it would be a pleasure to connect with all of you to tell you more about it. Thank you.